We get here. So this is the SWFA Super Sniper. 10 magnification, 42 millimeters on the end of the bell housing right here. So in layman's terms, this is a fixed 10 power scope. And so there's no zoom on this. There's no way you can adjust the magnification. It's just 10 power. And SWFA is owned by Tasco. A lot of people look at that as a knock. It is not a knock. This is a very well-made scope, and I'm going to get into that in this video. And this scope is made in Japan right here, but it's an excellent scope. And one of the things that I'll get into right away that makes this scope so good is it's just 10 magnification. So there's no zoom in here, so you don't have a set of lenses in here that are moving around with a zoom mechanism. It's just a few pieces of glass in here that just keep it at a fixed 10 power. So those light travels through the scope through a lot less things to distort it a lot less, therefore you have a cleaner image and a more durable optic. So let's go over the controls of this scope quickly. You know, this is obviously where you look through, and this is your, 42 millimeter objective. Here is your elevation turret, nice solid positive clicks, and this is your windage turret right here. And this scope is in mils. This has a mil reticle and mil turrets. Next thing you're going to have is your focus right there. And then you're going to have your parallax adjustment right there. And it also, on the parallax it has nice markings on it, so you can kind of get a ballpark where you are, and then you get behind your rifle and then you can fine tune your parallax setting. So that's basically it. So it's a very simple scope to operate, and to reset the zero is very nice. And this scope is, if I can remember correctly, this is the second one I've had. It does not have zero stops. So you're going to have you're going to have 3 Allen heads right here, if you can see them. There they are. And then you'll have one, there's 3 of them on each turret. So you're going to set your zero, and then you will go ahead and you'll loosen it, put it back to 0, and then tighten your cap right there, so then you know where your 0 is. And so each click on this is 1/10 of a mil, so that's really standard. So of course corresponds with your reticle, and the turret does. So one of the reasons I got this scope is because this scope is going to be mounted to this bad boy right here, and you've seen I've made a lot of other videos of this. This is my Remington 308, and as you can see, it is scopeless. The previous scope on here was one of these, but a 12 power, and last winter I was shooting at 940 yards, and 12 power is a little too much scope for the range of a 308. 10 power is all you need. And with magnification, a lot of people don't know this and don't get this. Sometimes less is more. When you shoot that distance, the problem I was having was the mirage. I was compacting so much with that 12 magnification that my 12-inch plate was all over the place, and it was moving about 24 inches all over. So you can't hit a moving target. But if you stretch out your magnification a little bit and go down to a 10 power, this will still get me out to 1,000 yards, and that is the goal of this rifle, is to get hits at 1,000 yards. And you don't need that much magnification. 10x is fine. So let's go over the SWFA line and what they make, and the other options you can get with this scope. So they make a fixed 6 power, they make a fixed 10 power, and I believe this is the first one they make. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong. They also make a fixed 16 power and a fixed 20 power. This model right here is $300 on their website. You can also get this model for $400 with another turret over here, a third turret. They take the parallax adjustment and they put it over there, so it's got more of a tactical look, but it's going to cost you an extra $100. So that way you can adjust the parallax on the fly. And I could see that being a little easier. If you're sitting behind the rifle looking behind it, it's probably a little easier to turn the knob than it is to turn it up here. This is definitely a little stiff up here, but it's okay for me, and you save $100. The other thing they have is they have the high def model of this, and I believe those are $700. So, for $700, and so the high def model, the image will be a little clearer. But I'm going to tell you right now, the image in this is pretty clear. I have a VX1 and another Remington 700 on a hunting rifle, and I have an AR mod, I think an AR mod 1 on my 8 AR-15, and I think that's based off a Leopold VX2. This is superior to both of them, and I've looked through a couple $1,000 scopes, and this is superior to those, the optical clarity of this, and this is just the regular model, not even the HD. So this is a beautiful optic to look through. And the other benefit of this optic is the 30 millimeter main tube right here, that most scopes are 1-inch tubes, and then you can step up to 30 30 millimeters, then 34, and then I believe there's some 35 millimeters main tubes out there. And what that'll give you is it's going to give you more range for your elevation. Also, if you're in windage, you won't need that much for windage, but elevation can be, if you're shooting, if your desire to shoot out to 1,500 meters, 2,000 meters, you could get bullets dropping 20, 30, 40 feet. Also, the 30 millimeter tube makes it more pleasurable to look through. Once I got my first 30 millimeter scope and I had a lot of time behind my 308, I never wanted to go back. I didn't want to look through another 1-inch scope again, and I'll never buy another one again. It's not as pleasurable. Your eye relief is a lot. When you're behind the scope and you're looking through it, it's a lot more pleasurable to look through this, right away. Your eye relaxes easier, and it's not as sensitive where your head is behind, or up and down, left and right behind the scope, as a scope with a 1-inch tube. So this is superior. You'll have your standard crosshairs, and then you're going to have dots, spaced at an even 1 mil, and so each dot will be 0.2 of a mil, and the space between them will be 0.8 of a mil, and the actual, so between the center of each dot will be 1 mil, and so that way you can use the scope for ranging and with the reticle, and then also the turrets correspond to your reticle. So if you can spot your shots with your own reticle, if you see you're off by 1 dot, you're off by 0.2 of a mil, you can sit there and you can just crank it, crank it right back over. So the reticle this scope has is called a mil quad reticle, and I liked it a little better. It's a little more precise. The reticle, you have your standard crosshairs, and then you're going to have a square box, almost like a diamond on each side, and that diamond is, just lines, and then you can see in the middle, so you're able to look at the tents. It's a very precise reticle. Also, the thing I want to give SWFA credit for is making very thin crosshairs. I think it's most Americans I know put huge scopes on rifles, huge magnification. You'll put a $100 or $50 scope that just is a massive amount of magnification, and it's not needed. All you need is, it's better to go with quality, and it's better to go with a scope that is real thin crosshairs. So even if your target is very small in the scope and you wish you had more magnification, your crosshairs show so fine you can place it right on the target, and you can move it around and just take your time and let your eye relax and really look at that target and really focus those crosshairs so you can really see your target and see your crosshairs clearly, and get position behind the rifle so everything's just lined up correctly, and you can get a lot done with some real fine crosshairs, and this scope does that very well. So we're going to roll in some footage throughout this video of this scope, with the camera behind it, doing my best job of lining it all up, getting, to see some objects in the distance. And just to let you know, for all the safety people out there, this scope has never been mounted on a rifle. When I did the filming for this at the beach, I was looking at ducks, I was looking at houses, I was looking under one house under construction. This was not mounted on a rifle. I even pulled the camera back to show that. It was just sitting on a wooden post. So I was just literally glassing things I was looking at. Somebody will comment on that. So this scope also has some heft to it. This is 14 inches long, and I'm going to guess this at least weighs a pound, maybe 20 ounces. I don't know the exact weight of it, but when you pick up a scope, this scope has heft to it. It's not super heavy, but it's got some heft. Without the zoom mechanism, it lightens it up, but these thick aluminum housing on this, it's definitely not a cheap optic. And this scope is used in the military, and you put in SWFA into a Google browser, Google search engine, and put in military sniper rifles, you're going to see a lot of images of these fixed 10 power scopes on military rifles. So it does have a lot of use, which lends to another thing, that it is a tough scope. So military beats up on their equipment, and they're not going to use this scope if it breaks. The other thing I want to give props to the scope for an SWFA is the turrets track 100%. So if you click it up 3 mils, click it down 3 mils, put in a mil of windage, half a mil of windage, and then roll it back to 0, it works every time. And I had the 12X on my 308 for two whole years, and I would put it away mostly for the summer and shoot it in the winter, and it was zeroed every time, and I would sit there and crank the thing, and I would shoot it I always had it zeroed at 200 yards, then I would shoot it out to 522 yards at a range I have, and then I would shoot it at 940 and crank it all around, all 300 yards and all in between. It always worked. And you know, the scope, and sometimes I left it up high and then I would drop it, zero it, you know, put it back to zero, and it would shoot right at 200 yards again, and I would get my bullseyes again. So it's excellent tracking on this scope right here. So let's get to some of my personal reasons, you know, why I bought this scope. And when I sold the 12X scope, I didn't buy this right away, which was a mistake. I kind of looked around in the internet, and maybe I'm like, maybe I can get something better, maybe I can make some more money and sell something else and buy a better scope. So I spent about a month on the internet researching scopes, looking at more of Tiberiusaurus rex's videos, trying to find something the next latest and greatest. And I kept coming back to this. And I looked at some, I'm not going to give any names out of other manufacturers, but you know, I looked at some $1,000 scopes, some Leopold Mark IVs. They're beautiful scopes and very well made and a proven track record, but they are expensive. And you know, I kept on coming back to this, and for $300, this just can't be beat right here. And I'm going to call this the best scope in this price range for this optical clarity. You're not going to beat this. And if you can beat this, you know, post it down in the comments. I'd be amazed to find somebody who can beat this. And please don't post anything that's $1,000 or, you know, US Optics fixed 10 power that's $1,500. You know, that's not a fair comparison to this. This is $300 right here off FWA's website. You know, can you find something better? And I don't think there is anything better than this. This is the best of the best product that fits this niche right here. A fixed 10 power for $300. It's just, this thing is unbelievable. So folks, I want to go ahead and thank you for watching this video right here. And if you like this video, feel free to give me a thumbs up. If you have any questions, please feel free to post them below. But thanks for watching, folks. This is the SWFA fixed 10 power Super Sniper scope.